Welcome back to Healthy Conversations, the podcast where we explore health topics that impact you, your family, and our community. I'm Susan Claborn, joined today by my co hosts, Jerome and Carina. Today, we're talking about something that doesn't always get the attention it deserves: kidney health. Your kidneys are small but mighty organs that play a huge role in keeping you healthy, and taking care of them can make a big difference in your overall well being. Joining us is Dr. Bhuta, a respected nephrologist with Athens Limestone Nephrology Associates. He's here to share what our kidneys do, how to protect them, and what signs might mean trouble. Dr. Bhuta, thank you for being here today. I know it takes time to get your schedule worked out to be here, but we appreciate it. And we just kind of want to hear a little bit about you, kind of what brought you to this community, and kind of as a physician, what led you to focus in on kidney health.
Thank you for having me. So I think my interest in kidney health got inculcated when I was a med student. When I met this gentleman who was undergoing dialysis for about more than 10 years and having a reasonable quality of life outside of dialysis. Um, it struck me at that time as to how many organs in the body are there which if completely fail can actually allow us to have a reasonable quality of life. And that's where I got more and more intrigued into the world of kidney health. I feel when I was interviewing, I really like the hospitality down south, and that's what brought me here. And I'm happy to be a part of the community.
Well, welcome to the South. Where are you from?
So originally, I'm from in Mumbai, India. I did part of my training there. I was an assistant professor in internal medicine, and that's when I decided to take the leap into the world of nephrology. And I did my training in Upstate Medical University in Syracuse, New York. And then I moved here.
That's cool. That's cool. So, this topic is really interesting to me. When I was in, I think maybe 10th grade, my mother had kidney failure. And I remember that day. I remember the process. It did really change our lives as far as dialysis and taking her to dialysis. And my sister ended up being a match for her, so they went through the whole kidney transplant. So this topic, I'm glad I'm here to be that you're here to share with us on this topic. So for those who may not know, what is the function of the kidney? What is the job? How does it impact our overall health?
Well, the kidneys are connected to almost everything in the body. Their primary role is to get rid of the toxins, so as to say the garbage of the body.
Mm.
So anything like extra fluids, probably extra electrolytes, which can otherwise be harmful. Um, Making sure that the equilibrium is maintained, getting rid of the extra acid in the body, but also they're connected to our bone health. They play a role in the hormonal regulation with the bone health as well. They make sure that we don't have anemia, meaning a lack of red blood cells, which are vital to supply oxygen to almost every cell and so every part of the body. Um, so overall, when you know we reach a stage when the kidneys are not functioning the way they should, all of these parameters can get affected.
I had no idea that it affected bone health and all of those other things. I was gonna say the same thing. I never heard that about bone health. I had no idea either.
Mm. So, I guess with that being said, how common are problems? People having problems with kidneys, and just as I think back, how can you how can you know that you're having these issues? What are the symptoms? How can you know if you're having problems with your kidneys?
Yeah, I think I think we need to look at it two ways. I think when we talk about kidney health, somewhere we equate it to dialysis, and I think the kidney health or the kidney well-being starts way before that. So I think, according to the previous numbers, almost 1 in 7 individuals in the US has kidney problems. Now, a lot of this is not diagnosed because the signs or the symptoms of kidney problems in the early stages are not too profound. So it's only during the later stages that a lot of individuals find out that they have kidney dysfunction. I think one of the early signs would be, noticing swelling in your legs or swelling around the eyes when waking up in the morning. Um, Swelling that otherwise persists and does not go away during the day as well, or having constant fatigue, having blood pressure that is not being able to be controlled, having persistent nausea. All of these could be signs of, kidney dysfunction.
Okay, and are there things we can do to help prevent kidney dysfunction from happening, or is there a big genetic factor to it? Is it some lifestyle changes maybe we can make?
So I think both. I think, unfortunately, with some types of kidney problems, there is a genetic component attached to it. But overall, I think a healthy diet, a healthy lifestyle, focusing on exercise early, watching the weight, all of this can help protect the kidneys in the long run. Also, maintaining appointments with your primary care doctor can also help make sure that your kidney function is being monitored.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense to me.
how does food affect our kidneys? Like, are there certain things that we should stay away from or certain things that we should add for kidney health?
Yes, I think, um, you know, everything that we've learned from school, including fruits and vegetables, do help with the kidneys too. Also, trying to stay away from sugary drinks or a high salt diet, um, all of that can reduce the strain on the kidneys.
I'm seeing a common theme in folks who've been here. Everybody's staying away from the sugary drinks, all the good stuff.
So, hydration. Everyone right now, I feel like there's a big, like, the water bottles. There's a big hydration trend. Everyone's obsessed with how much water they're drinking. You see those giant gallon jugs people carry around with times on them to track how much water you're drinking. Is as much water as you can possibly drink always the best answer? Is that what we should be doing?
Um, Probably not. The way I like to look at it is one size does not fit all. Um, I think it's important for us to make sure that we are not dehydrated,
Mhm.
especially, in summer months. However, if somebody has an underlying kidney problem or an underlying heart problem, drinking too much water can actually cause other complications than help. So I think that's something, that the physician can help advise
Mhm.
and help tailor to your needs.
Yeah.
What about things like electrolytes? Because that's a big
Myth.
kinda thing too with all the yes, it's hot outside, and I know my husband works construction, and so, we try to make sure he has those kind of things, but, anytime somebody gets, sick, we're throwing the electrolytes at them, or sometimes if we're feeling sluggish or tired, we feel like we need a little extra, and I know I have those packets of electrolyte drinks and things like that, so what are you kinda finding with those? Kinda the same thing and kind of a balance or
Well, sometimes we do find a little bit of an imbalance because, especially, when it comes to kidney problems, it's I feel it's a dynamic process. As the stage at which the kidneys are functioning, it can dictate on how much of a restriction there is with the electrolytes as well. Because the role of the kidneys is to get rid of some of these electrolytes. And if we are having kidney dysfunction and we keep taking a lot of these electrolytes, they're just going to build up in our body. So I feel that, it can be tailored to an individual situation. Like for someone who does not work outside or is does not have a very active lifestyle, too much electrolytes may not be needed.
Well, supplements are a big thing now, and I know it's probably a big, well, it gets real confusing. I know my sister-in-law and I were just talking about the different supplements we take, and she was talking about she takes so many that they don't even fit in all of her pills. But so, with different supplements and things out there, are there some that are useful for kidney health? I know it's again not a one size fits all, but are you finding those or hearing those from people?
Well, we are, and when it comes to evidence-based medicine, there's not enough evidence to prove or disprove a particular supplement. So I think, again, just like you said, one size does not fit all. So I think it needs to be a tailored approach. Sometimes some of the herbal supplements can actually cause some harm as well. So I think discussing with your doctor to understand what can suit you, it would be the best approach there.
Yeah, I know I've read on some of the supplements, although I do take supplements and there's certain ones that I take, I do know we have to be really careful where they come from because some of them do have additional chemicals that it specifically will tell you your kidneys
Yeah.
can cause issues. So
Yeah.
I can see where the supplement industry is, I don't know, a little difficult for your profession right now,
Yes, I would agree.
causing complications we may see later
Yeah,
on.
they're definitely heavily pushed right now out.
Yeah.
The wellness industry as a whole, right, is very big right now.
Yeah, every time I open up my, reels or something, somebody's telling me there's a certain supplement that's gonna be good for this, gonna be good for that, puffiness. So it is hard to navigate through that.
So I was wanting to know, when I'm doing a yearly checkup or 6-month checkup with my doctor, is this something that he's checking for as far as kidneys and making sure everything's functioning well with that? Or do I need to ask about it, ask him to check this specifically?
Well, I think it doesn't help to ask, but based on the profile, based on the age, usually a kidney test is just a simple blood and a urine test. So um, during the annual checkups, it is being checked, and that is the first step of screening, before which as the doctor would identify if there is any dysfunction with the kidneys.
Because that was gonna be one of my questions was, you know, you take a colon test for your colon and you can, mammograms for your breast, and there's all these kind of different things. But for your kidney, it's not like there's a scan you just do that tells you whether it's functioning well. It's through the annual blood tests that
Yeah.
our physicians run. Okay.
So if someone is diagnosed with early stage of kidney disease, or how do they go about making some changes in their lifestyle, or what could we do? Advice would you give or encouragement would you give to help correct it?
Well, first, I think it needs to be looked into as to why there is a dysfunction. In some situations, even if the blood tests show a dysfunction, if it's a temporary problem that's affecting the kidneys that can be reversed, it can help with the kidney function itself. But usually, the advice would be catered to why is there a kidney dysfunction. So in general, if let's say an individual has high blood pressure or they have diabetes, controlling both of these will definitely help in the future to help further decline in the kidney function.
What would you say is the line that you cross, like the line of no return, as far as where you cross over to, okay, this is kidney failure, um, that you really can't do anything except get a transplant? What's the line?
So I think every situation is unique. Depends on, are we in the hospital with some other problem, or is this something that has been going on for a while? Usually, dialysis or transplant, more so dialysis is less than 10-15%, I would say, of kidney function. And that's again the blood tests that help us understand where things are. Um, as far as transplant is concerned, again, once the kidneys decline to as much as 20%, 25%, that's the time that the transplant team starts evaluating patients to see if they would be a good candidate for transplant.
Okay. Yeah, and I was gonna ask about dialysis, and I guess, Jerome, you have some experience with this. It sounds like how can people support a family member maybe that's having to go to dialysis frequently or is having kidney issues? Is there anything specifically you would suggest to their support people in their life to do?
Yes, I think that's a great question, and I feel that's one of the most important aspects of healthy kidney health. Um, a lot of times, one of the symptoms in the later stages of kidney failure is also confusion. So um, just helping the patient, coming to appointments with them, making sure that they are taking the right medicines at the right time, um, making sure that they have access to a healthy diet, and they're following the right recommendations becomes very important. And that continues on into dialysis as well, because while dialysis does most of the work of the failed kidneys, there are still going to be some medicines. There are still going to be certain care we have to take when we're not doing dialysis, like in between sessions. And, giving both the support for medicines, but also emotional support
Mhm.
can go a long way.
How this I know it's probably very different for everyone, but as someone who doesn't know much about it, how often do people normally have to go to dialysis?
Yes. So it depends on the type of dialysis that we are doing. Right here in Athens, we have both the home program as well as the in-center dialysis. So if we are going for the in-center dialysis, it's usually 3 times a week.
It's a big commitment.
Yes, for almost 3 to 4 hours
Oh, wow.
of the day.
Can imagine it's hard to keep a normal life while doing that. Mhm.
It does become challenging, but and that's where the whole social support can also
Mhm.
help.
And what's the at-home regimen like?
So the home regimen is usually the belly dialysis, where we have a catheter on the
Mhm.
belly and fluid is instilled into the belly. There, our body naturally, the natural membranes of the body act as the filter to
Okay.
do the work of the kidneys, and it can be, it's almost every day because the dialysis occurs at 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 the patient's convenience,
Mhm.
during the day or night, but usually it goes through the night. And a lot of patients will connect themselves when they go to bed. They'll wake up in the morning, disconnect, and go to work.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask because just how things have evolved over the years. Because I remember when I was younger, my mother had to go to the in the center, and then recently I know a few people that do it in home, and so I was just wondering how have things evolved over the last 20 years to make it easier
Yeah.
and
The way I look at dialysis is, I feel it's also equally important to look at quality of life when somebody is going through that. And with home regimens, it being flexible, it's not a fixed appointment that somebody has to keep. So it can significantly improve the quality of life if somebody is able to do the home regimen.
Yeah, I could definitely see that because I just think in my life right now, if someone told me I had to be somewhere 3 times a week for 3 to 4 hours, be like, "When am I going to do that? I have no time to do that." That would be really difficult, really interrupt your life, in a big way. Yeah, it's really
And I
interesting.
think that's also where transplant steps in because
Mhm.
in terms of evolution and in terms of kidney medicine, there is still ongoing research. Uh, there's still a lot of advances that are being made in the transplant world. So with transplant, while we once there is a successful transplant, the individual does not need to do dialysis anymore. It still is an ongoing commitment to make sure that we're taking our medicines on time, or going to our regular follow-ups to make sure that we do everything possible for the transplant kidney to keep functioning.
So as far as the transplant, I know there's usually a list that people are on a list to find a match. And how is that now? Is it hard for people to have the availability to receive transplants today, or has that gotten any better over the years?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. As far as the list is concerned, it's ever growing. I do feel that the transplant reach has definitely gotten better over the years. There is more awareness about kidney transplant. However, nationwide, there is still an organ deficit. So probably the last numbers that I read were there were about 27,000 transplants which were done, I believe, by the end of 2023. But on the list, there were still about 90,000 patients which
Wow.
were still
Wow.
waiting.
Wow.
I know it sounds impressive. You're like, wow, 27,000 transplants is huge. And you're like, oh, 90,000 people on the list.
So we still have, and that's also because transplant is a major surgery. So both the patient profile as well as the donor profile have to have a good match before the transplant can move forward.
Yeah, I have a friend, a very close friend of mine who went through that recently with her child, and the dad was the donor, and seeing the amount of screening they had to go through before that happened, even as a direct familial match, there was so many steps to take. I mean, even going to the dentist, I didn't realize was like a step of it to make sure you didn't have cavities and things. And there were so many steps that I had no idea. So I could see why it can be a lengthy process to get that through, especially if you don't maybe have a family member that can do it. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing how much that has progressed. Because, like you said, years ago, it used to feel like the kidney transplant was kind of that last option, like after people had been doing other treatments for years and years and years. And now it seems like with the success of the surgeries and the things that have been learned through surgeries and things, that is not necessarily the last thing. They're doing it a little bit earlier for quality of life.
Yes, and the quality of life becomes extremely important when we think about probably the individual that I met when I was in med school. If they are going through dialysis for more than a decade, we definitely want to ensure that they do have a quality of life to be able to do the things that they like, be with the people they care about when they're not doing in dialysis.
So one question about your practice real quick. Do you have to have a referral to come see you?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh, Usually a referral from another physician, primary care physician, is how we have the intake for most of our patients.
Okay.
Also, patients who are seen in the hospital did not need a direct referral then.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Does anybody have any last questions?
No, I think he answered all mine.
Well, I have one. If you were to give one last thing about kidney health to the community, kind of that one thing you would tell anybody they need to do for better kidney health, what would it be?
I would say start early. Kidneys, they have a lot of roles to fulfill in the body, and if we start early with a healthy diet, a healthy lifestyle, exercise, um, and hydration based on the recommendations from your doctor, that is most important. Also, keeping follow-up appointments to make sure that if there is something going on, it's caught early, is going to be paramount to do everything possible to help protect the kidneys.
And as we've learned so many times, no good out of sugary drinks. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Bhuta, for sharing your expertise and helping us understand the critical role our kidneys play in our health. For our listeners, remember, kidney health isn't just a medical issue, it's a daily choice. A few healthy habits, regular checkups, and listening to your body can go a long way. We hope today's conversation encourages you to take steps toward a healthier future. Subscribe to Healthy Conversations so you never miss an episode, and join us next time as we continue bringing you topics that matter most to our community.